All right, let's get started, guys. Today, I'm going to start talking about the rest of chapter 3, and we'll do DuPont's identity. Come on, work with me. We're going to talk about internal and sustainable rates of growth. Then we'll start talking about price multiples, where ratios where numerator typically involves some form of value of the company, market value of the company. Those are the price multiples. On Wednesday, I'm going to basically do an expanded discussion on price multiples. How do we use them to do valuation of firms, comparing it to other firms? For example, if I can trust the value of Microsoft in the market, what is relative to that value of, let's say, Google or NVIDIA using price multiples? You may have heard things like, price earnings ratio. It's too high, too low relative to what? And we'll do something additional that's not in the book. I'm going to call that price adjusted growth ratio, PE ratios, where it adjusts the price earnings kind of ratios for the future growth of the company. Even though there is a ratio like that, it's called the PEG ratio. Not very fond of that. We will kind of do a natural way of adjusting for growth. Now, without further ado, let's start talking about DuPont identity. Come on, work with me. It's, I should have another one of these. This identity is known as DuPont identity because it was first used in the company DuPont. It basically starts with returns on equity, return on equity. In fact, I'm going to start with the simpler version of this. I'm going to call that Baby DuPont. And it starts with return on assets, ROA, which is net income by total assets. I'm using NI as an abbreviation for net income and TA for total assets. And I'm going to do something we do a lot in finance. I'm going to multiply that by 1, but I'm going to do it in a creative fashion. Sometimes we add zeros to things in creative fashions and rearrange. What I'm going to multiply that with is sales over sales, okay? Obviously, when I multiply it by 1, I didn't change anything. But if we rearrange this into 2 ratios, product of 2 ratios, net income over sales times sales over total assets. You probably recognize these ratios. What's the first ratio? We won't do any class participation today, but we will on Wednesday. What's the first ratio? Make sure you come to class Wednesday at least having read the chapter. Since profit margin, exactly. All right, PM. What's the second ratio? Sales over total assets. We, we covered this in the previous class. Total asset turnover. Okay. So baby DuPont says Return on assets is equal to product of profit margin or and total asset turnover. Now, you can think of this as kind of a decomposition of the return on assets. Your return on assets may be high because you have high profit margin. What does profit margin mean? How many dollars per dollar of sales do you get as net income? That's your kind of net margin. Obviously, you want that number high, right? You also want your total asset turnover to be high because that tells you how many dollars of sales do you get per dollar of assets. So that's in a sense efficiency of your assets. So your return on assets as a shareholder, I want that high. It could be high because I make a lot of money per dollar of sales as net income, and or my asset operations are efficient. Okay, I get a lot of sales per dollar of assets I have. As a comparison, let's quickly look at numbers for. Uh, I normally don't trust FinanceYahoo.com numbers, but let's look at Walmart. Let's go to financials. Let's do quarterly. When you do quarterly and you look at the income statement in FinanceYahoo.com, there's a column called TTM that is short for trailing 12 months because I want to look at annualized numbers. So for Walmart, I'm going to get sales, total assets, and net income. I'm going to do the exact same thing for Kroger, but let's get the numbers for Walmart first. Their sales, and I'm going to do this in billions. That means 673.82. The numbers themselves are in thousands. I have, where are you, net income? Okay. And you want to look at the number that says net income for common stockholders. And typically this is uh, excluding any minority interest, 19.68. And from balance sheet, I'm going to look at quarterly so that I can get the last available quarter. Total asset 263.40. Let's look at the same numbers for Kroger. In FinanceYahoo.com, I can cheat and change the ticker just on the header so that I don't have to re-navigate. Yes. Are you able to dive into what each asset was? Can you? Yeah, you can. You can. And in fact, I'm going to show you kind of finer decomposition of TAT. Because I've worked for Walmart forever. So sure. I've just been no, we can look at turnover for the current assets, receivables, inventory, other stuff. So you can decompose total asset turnover. Technically, you can decompose capital efficiency ratio because to do that decomposition, total assets have to be in the numerator. But we can do so and we will do so. But for now, I just want to make a comparison between two companies. Total assets for Kroger is 50.51 billion. And let's look at the income statement quarterly. Revenue is 149.88. So Kroger basically essentially 4.5 times. Walmart is 4.5 times Kroger in terms of sales. And we're at net income 2.75. So for all of these, we're going to calculate PM, TAT, and ROA. And I'm going to go ahead and cheat. Yes, I can do Excel, but hey, it's my computer. 68 divided by 673.82. That's 2.92%. TAT is 673.82 divided by 2558. I have a button on my keyboard that launches the calculator automatically. That's one of the reasons I picked this keyboard. And ROA 19.68 divided by 263.40, 7.48%.